We need to realize that the second law of thermodynamics could redesign sociopolitical systems, socioeconomic systems, business structure, spiritual and religious practices. Everything needs to be redesigned when you start to come to terms with any isolation of any system is going to increase entropy and chaos. The exact opposite is true. The more connectivity any system has, the less stress it's going to have, the less chaos is going to be in that system. And so what we should have done when we heard about this virus is we should have sent everybody out into family reunions in every national park around the world. We would have immediately, all death would have stopped because we weren't dying of a virus. We were dying of a virus attached to PM 2.5 air pollution carrying cyanide. If we had just gone and parked ourselves in campsites all over the world and stopped driving around, the whole thing would have passed over like a gentle hand of genetic updating so that we could get the necessary information. Corona and the other, 10 to the 31 viruses in our air, another 10 to the 31 viruses in our soil, another 10 to the 31 viruses in our ocean water. 10 to the 31 is 10 million times more than stars in the entire universe. Okay, like 10 to the 31 is a grotesquely huge number. That's how many viruses we breathe any given year on the surface of this planet. Viruses are not against us. If they were, we would be dead so long ago. It's ludicrous. We never would have developed as a species a mere 200,000 years ago because the viruses started 4 billion years ago. Yeah. Like, we've got this whole paradigm ass backwards, upside down, flipped over, and used to create economic shift. And so we are seeing the biggest consolidation of wealth in human history into just a few hands, and it's over nothing.
Virology Note 101 tells us that viruses mutate, okay, once they are out there infecting people. And the reason for this is really important. If you're a parasite, which is what a virus is, it doesn't live on its own. It can't live outside of you, really. Okay, it needs your cells. Do you want to kill the host?
No, you need fuel.
You need fuel.
Yeah.
So what happens is, I just read this yesterday. New genetic research shows that the virus has recently dropped 81 letters in its genetic sequence, just like SARS did 17 years ago. And the upshot of that is that it's weakening itself. It's attenuating naturally. So there are now, I've read 41 strains all over the world, and they group into 3 or 4 strains. But the point is that it's mutating, and it's not dangerous really to the vast majority of people. If you look at who's being impacted from it, it is people who are in nursing homes.
Sure.
So 1/3 to 1/2 of the people in the United States who died were in nursing homes.
People that are at risk to the flu anyways.
Already, yeah. Number one. And number two, they're all being vaccinated for the flu. And there is very, very clear, good research showing that being vaccinated with flu vaccines increases your susceptibility to other respiratory viruses like coronaviruses. So I think that that's what's going on. But the point is that what we're seeing in the real world is 0.1 to 0.2%. And also what we're seeing in the real world is that it doesn't matter if you lock down or not. It doesn't matter if you wear a mask or not. They are putting information out there that I think actually really confuses people because they are contradicting themselves constantly.
What's really happening for us here. And I say for us, Ben, because there's a lot of people that consider this to be a crisis that's happening to us. From your medical perspective, what's your take on where we actually are? Could you give a State of the Union today, May 22nd, 2020? A lot of twos in there. What's your medical perspective on this? What's really happening with us with COVID-19 right now?
In a nutshell, it's a sign that we're a very sick population, and that we've been relying too long on exterior things to try to make our own health better versus taking action on our own independent ways to support our own health. The population has been reliant and lied to for too long that if you suppress this or you suppress that, your symptoms will go away and you can lead a happy life. Where we're seeing that's backfiring. A dead, non-living, not dead, but a non-living thing like a virus is taking us down, and it's nonsense. When I say suppressing, I mean antacids, antidepressants, anxiolytics, antibiotics. Everything is anti, and it's let's kill the virus. Let's kill this, let's kill that, let's fight Parkinson's. F cancer. You're seeing this type of mentality everywhere, and that mentality is what's getting us in this hole right now. And if we keep thinking that it is these sicknesses or these viruses or these bacteria or whatever that we need to go out there and kill them and hunt them down, that will forever put us at the mercy of the government or whatever organizations to try to come in and save us, versus saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to put the work in, I'm going to put the effort in, I'm going to lift the weights, I'm going to go work out, I'm going to, choose not to eat that donut, I'm going to eat something better for me. Yeah, I'll have the donut, sometimes, but not all the time. So it's choices versus, being manipulated and basically lied to, in my opinion, played with.
Many questions have come in about the truth. What do you see as the truth right now for us, for you, for society? Like, what is the truth? Do we take off our masks and take a stand for what we believe in? Do we wait in the wings and see what happens? Where do we go now?
My truth is exactly that. We need to open our country back up, and we need to allow people to pursue their happiness. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you what started raising red flags for me almost immediately, okay? When this first thing kicked off, I actually closed my business because I own a jiu-jitsu academy and a CrossFit gym, right? Where people are sweating on each other, they're in close combat. You know what I mean? Like, if there's a real dangerous disease going around, that's probably something that we should take a step back from. And so I closed my business before it was mandated by the government, because as a respectable person that wants to protect my students and my team, hey guys, let's figure out what's going on and just take a few weeks off and analyze the facts, okay? But immediately, and I don't know what it was like in California, but in Washington State, immediately, everything shut down except for, and they started naming what was deemed essential from the governor's office: liquor stores, marijuana shops, and I'm pro both of those things. People, you do what you want to do, right? Yes. But you start to see a trend: auto licensing, so like tabs for your cars, okay? The lottery, Washington State lottery was deemed essential. That got to stay open and operate. Any type of construction contract that was contracted by the government, that was deemed essential. But any private construction was deemed non-essential. And you started to see crystal clear that, anything that pads the government's pockets is somehow just arbitrarily deemed essential. And right there, they lost credibility. Yeah. Because that proved to me, you're not trying to protect people's safety. What you're trying to do is ensure that you keep making your money, but you don't care about your citizens' ability to make money and feed their family. All you care about is feeding the machine. And so right from the get-go, I was like, hey, these things aren't adding up. This is not making sense. And then you just saw it go downhill from there.
But to be honest with you, even like what we're dealing with now with COVID-19, once I made sure I understood how to be safe, the first thing I did is I assembled my own research team, and I went after this thing to be able to try to understand it, because until we understand it, there's not much we can do about it. And now that I'm, almost a month into doing the research, I started to realize, okay, so we don't need to flail completely in the hospital. We can start making movements towards this. And one of the things that we clearly need to do is to boost our immunity. And so I started to get into, what is it that we can actually do? Besides, we don't have the time to actually invent things, right? I mean, there are people that are doing vaccines, but what are the people who are at home, going to do for themselves? Like, that's the immediacy that we can actually deliver. And so I started to look at immune boosting foods as an example, and mapping out all the things that the research is telling us of where we can actually do something for ourselves. And perhaps not surprisingly, the media is sort of like focusing on the drugs that are yet to be developed or in development. I think what we need to do is focus on the decisions that we can make right away, every day, today and tomorrow. And we don't have to wait for, the Calvary to arrive in the form of a syringe.
Looking at that and having my military background, so there's a couple of things. I know very well propaganda. I know thought control. I know from having been to schools in the military about how to avoid thought control. I see this is a textbook. It's textbook. And it's ridiculous to me when I see it. And I'm like, do you guys not see what's going on here? I mean, this is in the equivalent of football of just running a dive right.
Can you share a little bit more about that so we can understand? You say it's textbook thought control. What about your time in the military and in the service allowed you to see that from that lens? Like, what do you mean textbook?
Right. So the first thing you do if you want to control somebody or break them down is, number one, you confuse, and number two, you instill fear. Bam, bam. Right? What do we have going on right now? Confusion. The CDC doesn't wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. They don't know. Social distancing, we don't know. 6 feet, 12 feet, 18 feet. Yeah. I mean, the public is so freaking confused. Ask anyone on the street right now. What does the CDC say about mask wearing? I mean, they don't know. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Shit, yesterday it was wear a mask, today it's not wearing it. Nobody knows. Then it's instill fear, right? First thing that came down the line, COVID. Next thing that kind of petered out was killer hornets. Now we've got all of this racial tension going on.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, so then you've got fear. Now you've got people in the suburbs who are armed to the teeth. And I know because I live in the Texas suburbs right near downtown, it's tense.
Yeah.
It is tense. So now you've got that going on. You put people in unusual circumstances. What is more unusual than social distancing and mask wearing? I mean, it is textbook mind control. And you just see it, and it's going on. If anybody thinks that all of this is about health, again, step back and ask, is this about health, or is somebody trying to control me? And then the next logical question is, well, that sounds like a conspiracy theory, because who would want to control me? Follow the money and follow the motives. Follow the money, follow the motives, and just keep asking why.